Everyone's a bard. They're all bards.
And they were all paladins last time.
Yeah.
So, hey, so in this case, what we're talking about here
College of the Walmart bard. And we're back.
Hey, yeah.
Hey, yeah.
How are you?
All right. You know, hitting the gym.
Yeah, are you?
Right? Working off the dad bod. It's,
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. It's in now where I come from.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is it? It's inevitability where I come from.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be.
That's not. It's inevitable, but it doesn't have to. That's where I know. Okay.
Then you get it. You've been working off.
Okay. Oh, okay. Cool.
That's the goal.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
All right. Who wants to read the note today?
You want to rock paper scissors for it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a warning though. Where I come from,
Right.
warriors always choose rock.
Warriors always choose. Okay.
Always choose rock.
That's weird. That's a weird rule.
It is what it is. You ready?
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. All right.
Well, I mean,
You got me. I lost fair and square.
yeah. That's all right. Oh, you want to go again? Like best two out of
best
three?
of three, best of three,
Oh,
yeah.
not a man's game. So real warriors are. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
No. Always choose rock.
Oh, you always choose. You've been reading like Patton or Sun Tzu or something?
It's obvious to anyone that warriors only choose rock.
Okay. All right. Are you ready?
1, 2.
Oh, okay. Huh. All right. Okay. Let's tie it
One on one.
Tied at
All
one.
right, let's
Okay.
do it.
Yeah, you're ready. Warm it up. So let's test the theory. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
You got some shakes. You won. To the
Always.
victor goes the spoils.
All right.
You real warrior.
way of the warrior.
You real warrior.
All right. Attention. Read out loud exactly what is written on this note, or be destroyed and replaced. Welcome to Caffeine and Cantrips, the show where we talk about D&D or else. Hello, I'm Sean number 161, and
I'm Byron number 176.
this week, these two pragging, fen-drenched Adonises will be hitting them. That was difficult.
What is it?
Hitting the mat.
What is it? It's a pragging, fen-drenched Adonises.
Adonises.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is. But we will be hitting the mat and monopolizing the local whetstone markets as they talk about martializing your world.
Oh.
Well, martialize your world. So increase your comfort, gird your electrolytes, and remember, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. All right, welcome once again to Caffeine and Cantrips.
Rock style.
Yeah.
Rocks fall, baby.
Rocks fall, you're all warriors. This week, actually, we've decided to mix things up a little bit.
Wiki.
Yeah, I know, right? And we decided to start a series.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a 3-part series. And what we're gonna be doing is talking about what it actually takes to make a martial character. Mm-hmm. An expertise character?
Yeah.
And a magical character.
Yeah.
And sort of trying to unbox it in our minds so that it's not just limited to what we traditionally think of as the martial characters, like as in fighters and in clerics and in paladins. And,
Yeah.
like not just the class. Let's try to expand our mind as to what exactly we can do. As martial
one of the things that we
characters,
talked about previously was like getting rid of your preconceptions. Right?
absolutely.
So we want to take these ideas and these, I suppose, core mechanics, but really marry them into the greater story and the greater kind of conversation that's happening at the table as you have this communal narrating experience. And that's why we're saying we're unboxing, or we're going to attempt to try and unbox some of these ideas and recontextualize what it is versus what it has.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we're starting number 1 with the fist, the muscle, the bicep,
the rock,
the martial. And I think one thing that you said is very important that we're taking away from this is that we're not talking about martial classes.
Right.
We're talking about martial characters, right? So characters or PCs that embody maybe the stereotypical characteristics of what we would consider a fighting man, a brigand, a foot soldier, a soldier, heavy, like any of that kind of stuff. But maybe not the way that we've done it previously.
Yeah, well, I know maybe because it feels like sometimes you see one warrior, they're all kind of samey, right?
Yes.
So at least my hope is through this series, we can sort of help you guys watching to sort of expand your mind as to what exactly a martial character can be and sort of give you more options.
As opposed to a fighter that uses a bow versus a fighter that uses a sword versus a fighter that uses a shield, right? Like breaking away from the tools that they use to what they are, right? We're talking about the story. Talking about
what makes a character a martial character or a sneaky character or a magical character.
So maybe then best, let's start by defining that. Right?
No, absolutely.
What do you think that is?
Absolutely. I would love to define it.
Oh.
But I want to define what success looks like for our channel. And that is when you guys out there like and subscribe, as always, to our content.
We can only track our gains. We need more gains. So make sure you hit the like, make sure you hit the subscribe. Join us so we can pump the number up.
Cool. Now that you've done that.
Now that you've done your set, a rep of 1 and 1.
And ding.
Yeah.
Let's go, talk about what precisely are we going to define a martial character as. Like, if you ask me, I think, like I said, less class-wise, it's more a character who specializes in physical combat, right? And the use of weapons. They are kind of more than the other archetypes, straightforward and direct, I think, in their approach to solving problems.
Okay.
Right? And they rely mostly on their martial skills and sort of their their physical actions to sort of solve conflicts and sort of defend whatever they're interested in.
Fair. Okay.
Typically, they're unlike the other types. They're more willing to put themselves directly in harm's way.
Okay.
Right, in order to sort of achieve their goals. And then I guess lastly, I would say it's kind of mechanic. I don't really like going to mechanics, even though I kind of
have to. We don't normally talk about mechanics,
but they typically have some kind of because they're going to be in harm's way of sort of mitigating damage.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
Through whatever means that might be.
Okay. What would be a couple examples of it?
Stereotypically, armor.
Okay. So
high AC.
Higher AC.
Right?
Okay.
Making people miss.
Okay.
High, maybe dex.
Okay.
Right. Also,
which is another way of reducing AC.
Or it could be magical spells.
Okay.
Right. Or maybe add temporary HP. Or magical items. Right. There's lots of ways of mitigating. Maybe there's ways of reducing attack rolls.
Okay, so like implying disadvantage or implying penalties.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Stuff like that. So anything that makes the total amount of damage per round less on the other side.
Okay.
Or if not damage per round, make it less or make sort of more buffer on your side.
Okay.
Or like I don't know. If you put it in terms of tanking, there's armor tanks. There's sort of and then there's like HP tanks. There's things that, there's different ways of mitigating that.
Right. Okay. And so that's what you're.
That's what I mean.
That's what we're talking about martial. Okay. So tend to be kind of more direct. You're saying more of kind of like a party player where they're potentially protecting themselves and the people around them through use of kind of like a physical way of getting in.
Kind of. Yeah. They're more directly in the face of danger.
Okay.
As opposed to sneaking around it, like not getting caught. Or using sort of magical means of avoiding it altogether.
Okay.
It's that straightforwardness that I sort of kind of wanted to focus on.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe in adding to the definition is that they're going to focus on primarily using weapons as their tool of choice, right? Because
or the fists.
With
that's a weapon too, right?
Everything's a weapon. Rock. Yeah, but I mean, when we talk about a martial character, like an archer could be a martial character.
Oh, absolutely,
right? And that has very little to do with getting like right up in their face and taking down.
I guess so. You're right.
So martial characters use physical tools around them to impose their will on the world. Right?
Okay.
Is that
I can totally agree with
right? And so I want to impose my physical will by protecting others. So therefore, I want to take the hits. I want to debuff. I want to buff. I want to create an uneven balance.
Maybe less of that damage mitigation.
Maybe less of the tank role.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I can agree.
I would say a tank is an aspect of it. I agree, but I think that's a subsection thereof.
It might be a little too narrow in that definition then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to keep it kind of wide, so that we can really incorporate a lot of creativity and ideas in this space.
Yeah, I'll retract the damage mitigation.
Ooh, that train's going backwards.
The rock sometimes loses fair and square.
The paper rises. So it's 50-50. Yeah, I like that kind of idea that you're talking about when we're kind of just trying to define what the martial type
and you'll notice that in that definition I didn't mention class at all. Character class.
Yeah,
because in my mind the martial character is class independent, especially if you use this definition, right? So just to keep that in mind, I think it's important to remember that, so that we do leave sort of the avenues open for as many different types of martial characters as possible.
Okay. So then I suppose in talking about this and whatnot, one of the great things about doing this, obviously, as you guys know, if you're following this with us and going through the different episodes, I try and tend to do things a little bit more from the DM side.
Yep.
You try and do things for the PC side. One of the great things about doing this as a DM, when you say anything can kind of be a martial, right? It's that camouflage in plain sight. Right, it's being able to introduce an NPC, right? Definitely introducing PCs that can camouflage and do the things that they want to do and be creative and kind of off type. But as a DM, introducing NPCs that appear as one thing but are something completely different. Right. And so this kind of idea of presenting, and maybe we should talk about that. What does a martial character look like? Right.
Okay.
And so I would generally say that when you're going into these things, you kind of, if we're attempting to channel the stereotypes of a martial class, then we're not a martial class, right? But we still can back it up, right? It's not all bark. We do have some bite.
You gotta have some bite, or you just
right
a bard.
maybe. But when we're going along with this kind of an idea, I think that a lot of what you can do when you're first starting out in conception of creating an off-type or an unboxed class into a martial character type is really lean into the show don't tell portion of it. Right. What do they look pristine, clean, posh, right? Like a fancy man, right? Like a high class person.
Fancy.
So fancy. Or do they bear some scars? Is there some dirt under their fingernails? Do they, bear calluses on their hands and whatnot? Get into the details of showing people what you are without having to tell them what you are through these expressions, through these mannerisms, right?
Okay.
Like, what do they do? Well, when he's just standing, he never stands idle and just kind of listens when the party's talking to your job broker or your handler or whatnot. And he pulls out a dagger and he just starts cleaning his nails with it, right? Like he's going to use a tool even in his off time to occupy themselves, right? And still maybe present that aura of intimidation or like strength. They're going to evoke strength. They're going to kind of show these types of things. And I think that's important when you're trying to play a martial character, is that you can see the sword on the knight's hip. Or the mace, or whatever weapon he's using. Let's just say it's a sword and shield, right? We're going to go with our knight in shining armor, right? You can see it, and so then you assume that's what he's got and that's what he's going to do.
Right.
Right? Later on, you could find out, oh, it was a paladin, so he had holy magic. Oh, it was a cleric of a war god. He was more spells than he was punch-a-smacky.
Right.
But our first visual impression, right? You can fall in love at first sight. Well, you can be intimidated at first sight too.
Right.
Right. And so you can evoke fear. You can evoke all of these different kind of feelings when you're doing this as a person, or as a character rather. As a person, try not to intimidate people. Be a nice person. But when we're talking about these characters, right? Like dig into what they're wearing, right? Like in any interaction, describe what they're wearing. Why did they pick that? Is it because they're wearing a leather jacket? Why? Because they want to look cool like the biker gangs? Awesome. Are they wearing patches or identifying figures? Are they, like we know some people take trophies, right? Do they have a string of ears that they wear as a necklace or like a tooth kind of thing that they collect as trophies? Show victories of their past. Really create that kind of intimidating look that moves forward, I think. I know I'm leaning a lot into intimidation.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was like, I don't know.
You can even... Yeah, you can do soft intimidation, which is kind of like persuasion as well, right? Like, would you rather pay the money or would you rather lose a leg? And you're like, why? I guess you persuaded me nicely.
Is that soft intimidation? I do soft persuasion.
I don't know.
Soft intimidation.
I don't know. I think you can do threats of violence while still being nice and persuading. I don't want to.
You can be polite about it. I suppose.
Yeah. That's how you go on it. Going hard, going to good cop, bad cop kind of thing. But I think that there's a lot of that. When we're talking about martial characters, we're talking about this feeling of power, right? Or some kind of danger about them in their physicality. Because when you see the wizard in robes, okay, yeah, he might be able to drop a meteor on you. Right? But he can also turn you into a newt. Right? And so he can also unlock locks. He can, turn invisible. He can teleport. He can move. You don't really know what a wizard's going to do, but you know they're going to do magic.
Yep.
Right? When you look at a fighting man, you don't know what kind of moves he's got, but you know you're probably going to be bleeding at some point through the fight with him. Right? And so there's that kind of direct attention to violence. And I'm not saying that's your only kind of card to play in your hand, but it is a present one. It's a kind of an ever-present one, I think, with martial characters.
It's funny, and it's not funny, but you do
violence,
ever-present violence.
Yeah,
I love it. when you do lean into the intimidation, quite heavily in what you talked about, and I don't know about that because there are lots of different kinds of martial characters, like you said, right? You've got the big burly guys who are like, right, I don't intimidate you, but there's also the wiry sort of rapier wielding fellows who are also very martial.
The presence of violence is still there, though.
I think it might be more interesting to characterize it as maybe having a sort of an aura of physical control over an area, or in their immediate area. So it's not violent, but they're in control of the physical sort of the immediate sort of surroundings of that character. Because that's I think no matter if you're the brute kind or the swifty kind.
Swifty. Get swifty with it, eh?
Right. Like perhaps is that, I'm going to clean my nails with a knife.
Right.
Maybe the other person is just, you can tell they're a martial character because of the way they move. Right. Because all martial people, I think, after a certain point, probably have a certain way of moving that's more sort of in control of their body, unless they're purposely trying not to, right?
Yeah, and then
I think it extends to the environment around them.
But I think that's the air of confidence that they wear around them. They are comfortable in their scenario because they know that they are dangerous.
Right, which is different from specifically intimidation,
Yes.
right? Because they can't be intimidating
Yeah.
because of that
No.
physical presence.
No, I'm just
Right.
on the train ride down from
Right.
from non-Marshall town to Marshall Place.
Right.
I'm saying that one of the stops that you can lean into is intimidation, is a physical expression
Yep.
of your will, and that's a social aspect, but not necessarily using words to do it. Because what we're talking about here is the
Right.
look.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he looks like he knows how to use his sword, right? I believe that they are confident in that. I believe that they would be confident if they were holding a twig in their hand.
Right.
That's what I need to watch out for, because that's how comfortable they are in their space.
Right. I believe that in a physical altercation,
Yeah.
they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right. That's the feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And so to that, I would say, when in doubt, chat it out. So Chad,
Chad.
Chad.
Like CHAD.
CHAD, Chad, is gonna be an acronym that's gonna stand for that person is probably going to remain calm. Right?
Okay.
Because they're in control of
Yep.
themselves, they're confident, right? They're probably, in this case, going to be hushed. They don't have to say a lot necessarily. They can be kind of quiet because they can project that strength through a visual medium alone.
Right.
Right? They are assured of themselves, right? So once again, reinforcing that calm,
Right.
even when they do talk, they're like, no, I could beat you if I had to. I just don't want to.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And then finally, sometimes they're disagreeable, right? I am in control here. You are not in control. And if you want to test that, you're more than welcome to,
Right.
right? But whether I do want to go into blows, whether I don't want to go into blows, doesn't matter, because either way, I'm comfortable in this scenario.
Okay.
And so that's what I mean, chat it out. Also, yeah, there's some toxic stereotypes and some non-toxic stereotypes, but still there is that kind of idea of somebody who's comfortable where they are because they know that they can rely upon themselves to overcome problems and
Right.
scenarios, right? And that's that
Right.
straightforward
Yes.
kind of approach to
Because
it.
a martial character could also be quite friendly too and warm
Absolutely.
while projecting this sort of physical presence as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you don't necessarily always have to jump straight to violence, but you're ready to, right?
Right.
In case it's sprung upon
it's
you.
the martial character's specialty.
Yes.
Is that physical?
Yes.
What is the physical, I think.
So, quick test for you.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you a little description here.
Oh,
And
okay.
we're gonna go. So, a little backstory. A pair of children born on the low side of city to a large family. Sadly, mother and father could not, through their regular businesses, arrange enough funds to support their entire family and grew into debt. And so they took the youngest twins and sold them to the local gladiator arena in exchange to pay off such debts. The twins grew to a certain reputation in the gladiator pits, not only because they became deft warriors, but also they won the adulation of the crowd. The pair of twins, Ethos, the slick blade, and Ehina, the final curtain, were known, Ethos was known specifically for his swordplay, his dancing blade, his swift cuts, his ability to move around the battlefield in an almost mystical way. And his sister, not only able to invoke fear in her opponents at nearly a mere glance, but also would wear their shadow of the defeated and put on a final performance where the defeated combatant in the gladiator pit could say their farewell to the crowd. Any guesses on what the twins might be?
I think Ethos might be a rogue of some kind.
Okay.
I don't know about the subclass. It could be.
No, it's fine. Okay.
And Ehina sounds like a bard.
Okay. Well, you got one of them right. They are both bards.
Oh, they're both bards.
And so in this case,
They're almost the same thing.
they're always bards.
Everyone's a bard. They're all bards.
They were all paladins last time.
Yeah.
So, hey. So in this case, what we're talking about here is...
College of the Walmart bard.
Yeah. Hey, it's always on special. You want this? Yeah. So in this case, going through, looking at it, Ethos, the Slick Blade, College of Swords.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Uses his inspiration die to empower himself, has a few more tricks, right?
Okay.
And Athena is College of Whispers, using the ability to put fear in her opponents, but also going into the psychic damage for the blades that she can do.
Right.
Yada, yada, yada. But two players that could definitely excel in a gladiator pit, win the adulation of the crowd, right? win the crowd over and whatnot, as they perform death. They don't just inflict it. Right. So a great example, once again, like, of not being intimidating, but being intimidating maybe through reputation. Right. And so, I think that these guys, bards aren't necessarily your frontline gladiatorial style kind of fighter. You wouldn't necessarily jump to them straight away. But when you think about it, in 5th ed at least, right, they're magically capable. They do things that can empower themselves or can weaken their foes. They have the ability to inflict changes to the dice, right? And so they kind of wear all the merits of what you were talking about before. Plus, they have the ability to, be up front. They don't have all the hit points of a fighter. They don't necessarily have all the AC possibilities. But if you're in a lowbrow gladiatorial pit, nobody's worried about knights in armor, like cavalry riding across the battlefield here. This is kind of one-on-one little bouts.
No, and that's a great example of how you can make a martial character without using a martial class. Right? Because those two could have been fighters, for sure.
Absolutely.
Right? Just give them performance.
Right?
From their description.
They take performance, absolutely.
Right? But
these ones took expertise in it.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And it makes it so much more interesting that you could have other fighters, fighter class characters in the arena. But at the same time, you don't have to, right? You can break out and unbox the martial class and spread out into other classes. Right? Because, like I said, it could have been a rogue.
It absolutely could have been a rogue.
Right?
Slickblade could have.
When you're talking about moving around, I thought that maybe that's like their disengage as a bonus action or whatever. You can do a lot of really interesting stuff like that.
Right? And looping back as a DM, you can keep that confusion on your players. If you play, in case when your players are like, I could beat them. You go down, they don't know exactly what they're fighting. Right? There is an air of mystery into what they're going into, but it's mystery hidden in plain sight. You're not being devious. They have a puzzle now that they need to figure out. And that's going to be through observation and understanding.
I love this actually, because I've always thought that, like, you as a player, you join your party and you're like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm a bard. This is what I do. Or I'm a, I'm a ranger, blah blah blah. This, I'm an annual companion. These are my skills. People don't do that. I don't think in if you were to think about what they would actually say, they would say, oh, as a part like with Athena and Ethos, they'd say, oh, we're gladiators, we're fighters.
Yes,
like because that's what
we do. We fight.
Right? Yeah. They wouldn't say I'm a bard.
No. And that's where we get into that, once again, that kind of previous clarification. We're not talking about martial classes. We're talking about martial characters and personas.
Like, who are you? I'm a martial
Yeah.
person. I am based in physicality, and that's what I do. I have other stuff, but my focus is on being martial.
Yeah, and I mean, in this case, you could take Ethos and Ahina, and you could easily remove them from the gladiator pit. You could put them into the local thieves guild, right? Being College of Whispers, that free invoking of fear and the frightened condition just by talking to somebody, amazing, right? And they don't even know if you fail. Right. So it's like subterfuge going on. I also thought that the Slickblade, he's a professional with his sword. Right. He can go around and he can, make examples of people. Right. He's not an assassin. He doesn't go out and kill them, but he makes a walking billboard in town. So you got to pay up to Bruno the Butcher or whoever it is.
Oh, he's the cleaner. Oh, the cleaner.
Yeah.
Right? Or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the pair of them could be like a fixer collector or whatever. Right? They could fit easily into any kind of thuggery that you've got going on in a city or in kind of a black market or whatnot. As just kind of further examples of where they could fit in, depending on the backstory that you want to tell. Or the theme or the kind of world that you're building, where these types of characters
and right now, and the only difference is between like Bardy ethos and Gladiator ethos is the way you describe them.
Yes.
And describe how they move and how they go and their focus of their action. Right? The mechanics are exactly the same as some guy that performs in Shakespeare's theater.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's a pretty bloody Shakespearean theater.
Well, things were crazy back then.
Things get crazy. Yeah. I think, yeah, so that's
Occupational was it safety and hazard wasn't a thing.
OSHA? Yeah, no, OSHA was not a safety thing. This is not OSHA compliant.
No.
This is not Geneva compliant, this campaign either. But whatever. But yeah, no, so that was your first test of kind of I got a couple more ideas.
50%.
50-50. Not bad.
I mean, I like it though. Speaking of different like classes,
Yeah.
like your bards being able to be martial characters.
Mm-hmm.
I think expanding that.
Also, instead of just seducing everything.
I know, right?
Right?
Because if you seduce things physically, that's typically a really bad thing.
Yes,
Like
there are other words for that.
Martially seducing someone.
Session 0. Why did you underline and highlight consent?
That's okay. All right.
Consent's important.
Yes.
Yes, but moving on.
Moving on. I was going to say any class can be a martial character.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the key, I think, is to focus your character building and characters on the aspect of physical action.
Mm-hmm.
That's what their focus is on. Like maybe they're sneaky, they're a rogue, but all their sneakiness is focus on being straightforward, physical action. Even a mage can do that, or a cleric or something like that.
Right.
Like I'm going to use my magic to enhance my physical problem resolution.
Yes.
Right. Some classes, of course, are more obvious choices for martial characters. For sure, fighters,
Right.
Paladins.
Mm-hmm. And not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, and
right?
they're great.
Yeah.
But like
that's not necessarily unboxing them from their kind of normal roles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's for the purposes of sort of freeing our minds from that frame of what martial characters should be.
Yeah.
Or what classes they should be. I think, yeah, like I said, like for sure, rangers are very obvious, right?
Mm-hmm.
Barbarians, but like you said, rogues, right? As a martial character, instead of being sneaky, is more like that thug, that back alley thug that wields a club.
Yes.
And it comes in like, hey, you better pay up. I'm gonna break your knees.
Right. And mechanically, you can marry that up to like expertise in not just stealth, right?
Yeah. But intimidation.
Expertise in intimidation, expertise in
athletics,
persuasion. Athletics, yeah.
What I can grab a guy and grapple them and subdue them. And it's just the way that they operate is more direct and physical, as opposed to sneaky and in the dark.
Correct.
Right, but they're still a rogue.
Yeah, but they're not all cloak and dagger or cut purse or whatever. Right? They're switching kind of what they're doing.
Yeah,
and how they're doing it, how they're accomplishing it.
And I guess, and then the magical types. Again, they have magic, but again, it's focused on sort of physicality and facing it directly. A really easy example of this is your warlock hexblades.
Okay.
Right? Everything, they have all this magic.
Yes.
All this magic.
All this magic. Yes.
Infinitely more magic than a fighter.
Okay.
Then
wrong. Right. Wrong.
Let's skip.
But yeah. Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
But they're all about getting in your face and hitting you with their weapon. Right. They wear leather armor. Let's see.
They have
a shooting weapon.
They can access medium armor. That's correct. And a shield and whatnot.
They've got the smites for doing.
So they're taking all of the breadth of their tools, their entire toolkit, and they're focusing it on the primary thing, which is their summoned weapon.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, and that's in fights. But again, to make them feel like martial characters, it's all about how they look, how they behave, right, and how they go about sort of solving problems.
Sure.
In combat and out of combat.
Yes.
I feel like. And then same thing with artificers. You can do the same thing. The armor one is probably the most straightforward, but all of them you can do it, I think.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
Well, even breaking it down quickly. I mean, I think the alchemist is probably the hardest one to marry it to. Right, the artillerist, he's making guns, which is a tool that he's using to enact his will. The battlesmith is creating a steel automaton or whatnot, a metal automaton to go and do stuff to mitigate damage, to create kind of havoc, to force kind of more frontline presence. Yeah, absolutely, they can.
I mean, You can do it with an animal companion even. Like, I'm not the one who's being physical. It's the animal who's being physical.
Right.
And they're the one being intimate. And they're the ones who are... I control the animal controls the area.
Right.
Right? And...
Well, because I'm not hungry. But he hasn't eaten yet today.
Right?
And he's a lion.
You insulted the mama bear's kids.
Yeah. And she's the complaint department, which is right over there. So
what class are you? I don't know. I'm a ringmaster.
yeah,
Circus ringmaster.
ringmaster class coming to a theater near you.
I mean, and even like you said, the alchemist. You can make them martial. They may not be optimized for combat, but that's okay. I mean, make sure to talk about it with your group and your DM first.
Just brainstorm one. Yeah, keep going.
Right, but
Yeah.
but I want to make a martial with maybe, I don't know, he likes to juice himself up.
Yeah.
Or herself up and then go into combat. Or whatever, right?
Yeah. No, like WWE flavored, like superstar warrior barbarian type multi-class and artillerist who's taken all of his like his pre-workout
You mean
and
the
stuff like that.
alchemist.
The alchemist, sorry, my apologies. Yeah, and so he's taking his pre-workout, getting all his buffs, making sure that he's getting stuff.
Right.
Because it's not actually a spell, right? He's just consuming these things. He can assume spell slots
Yep.
to make more potions,
Yep.
but he's not actually casting spells. So
Right.
you can do that in a rage.
I mean, you don't even need to go barbarian if you don't want to.
No, I was
Barbarian,
just,
of course.
I was just thinking that was a fun one.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Talking about these stereotypes and there are juicers and whatever. That's fun. That's fun.
Right, but there you go, martial. Right? Even if it's just like a wizard, but all his magic is in his muscles. Or whatever, right? Like, you can reflavor the shield spell to just
Him just flexing hard.
flexing hard and the skin is just...
Ancient Armstrong technique.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Ching.
well, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Again, not optimized for physical combat for sure, but just pump up some
But
HP.
there's ways
you can do it.
There's ways to support your choices through the class system, so that when you are unboxing, you're not perfectly like optimized for
Correct.
that role, but you can definitely support your choices
Yeah.
in a strong way.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that doesn't take you too far outside the discomfort wheelhouse mechanically, but definitely you're taking a deep departure from where they're normally existing.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of optimizing 100% just for combat anyways.
Well, it's only,
So,
technically it's a third of the game, but maybe at your table, you've decided that there's going to be little combat. So yeah, why optimize for combat if there's only going to be a couple of fights?
right.
Right?
Right. Or if everyone's at a lower optimized level, then really the DM can just
You have a little bit more
adjust.
freedom. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Soften up the numbers a little bit, change the AC, the hit points, how many of them there are.
Correct.
Yeah. You can always play with things to match the party's need. Right. In that case. Yeah. And meet their force where it's at, not overwhelm either side. Because it's no fun if you always get stomped or you are always stomping. I think eventually it gets.
You gotta share the stomping.
Yeah.
Sometimes I stomp you. Sometimes you stomp me. You know.
Yeah. Absolutely. Which I think is that's a great. It's a great idea when we can bring everything in.
Speaking of stomping, though.
Oh.
You know what else needs to be stomped?
What needs to be stomped?
You tell me. You guess. It's your test.
Well, since I love it so much, I'm just going to have to stomp that like button, I think. You got to like and subscribe to the Stompy Stompy. Make some noise. Clap your hands. Get in the stands.
You stomp for us, and we'll stomp for you.
Yeah. You let us know where you need some stomping. We'll bring the heavy boots. They're good.
I mean, we might be podcasters, but we could be martial character podcasters, too.
We could be direct in your face. Pouring into you through the internet.
Control my 5x5 space around me in this room.
Yeah. Well, my boots have reach. So, yeah.
The smell has reach for sure.
Secret weapon. You're letting my tactics get out of here. It's great. When we're talking about anybody can kind of do it. And so, I really like that when we're going into this, And because anybody can do it, we talked about what they look like, right? Now, I think, what is the idea of the martial persona, right? The emotional drive, the intellectual, what's going on kind of behind the wheel? Because we talked about what they, like I said, we talked about what they look like and how they want to present themselves to the outside world. But what else can you do to kind of reinforce that idea, right? Independent of class. Like a lot of things, like we talked about before, body language is going to be a way of expressing themselves, right? Do they express themselves confidently, right? Do you, at the table, express yourself confidently when you're trying to kind of impart some of your character's mannerisms on yourself to kind of jump into that? Do you kind of sit up, puff out your chest a little bit, right? Fold your arms over to just be, or kind of, are you a little bit more meek, a little bit tiny, right? These things are going to inform your mindset, and they're actively going to change what's going on in your head if you present yourself as big and wide and controlling and large. And like we talked about before, the strong silent type, right? Word economy. What words do you use? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to be a flirty, friendly, I'm calm because we can throw down at any time? Or are you trying to be, the club bouncer who doesn't want to let you in? Right? I am just going to own this space. Nah, little man, your shoes aren't right. Back of the line, right? None of this, I'm going to be nice to you, blah, 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 because this is the character that I'm trying to evoke.
Okay.
Right? So which way are you trying to now use your voice and use your kind of problem-solving techniques that your characters develop? How are you going to impose that out into the world? Okay. Yeah. And I think beyond the mannerisms, beyond kind of just necessarily the science, it's how you're communicating, right? Because you should lean in, even if you're more of kind of like a wallflower, edgelord, whatever you want to call it, who sits kind of outside the group on the periphery. You still need, as a player, you still need to figure a way of leaning in and getting your character to operate within the scene.
Yes.
Right? Because you're not just along, unless you are, and everybody else is fine with it, you're just along for combat. Right? You're sitting on your phone waiting for somebody to say, hey, roll initiative. You're like, oh yeah, it's my time to shine.
Martial character, I choose you.
Right? So we don't want that. We want to play games with you, right? So even if you are the strong silent type, even if you are sitting at the back, you should try and find ways to, evoke that power, right? Like, come in, everybody's talking, but you decide what the plan of action is, right? No, Jessup's plan's better, period. That's it. You guys were talking for plans for 20 minutes. Right. Jessup's plan's better. You said 3 words in the entire conversation, but you still had an impact in what's going on. Right? And you can still you were listening, you were attentive, you were nodding along, yada, yada, yada. You were showing the players and giving them the information on the meta player level that, yes, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm with it, I'm doing this, I'm playing the game with you. But ultimately, no. He said it. Sturm's always kind of, he gives us kind of the final word, and then we go, right? And I think that can have an impact on that martial identity as well.
The way you speak,
and your vocabulary that you choose, and how you want to express yourself. Because yes, if you are that kind of juggernaut, big, violent guy, then like in the Rocky movies, right? I will break you. Boom. That's what Drago says, right? And that's what you need to know, right? And even later in the fight, he feels like steel, right? It's just not like
iron, I think.
Yeah, iron, is it? Okay, Rocky misquote. But it's still, I think, when we're dealing with martial characters that aren't normally martial characters, we're assuming the stereotypes and assuming some of the things. I do think that vocabulary and word choice matters a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Disagree?
I mean, no, I don't necessarily disagree. Again, I think you're leaning into a specific martial character trope. Sure.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely.
But it is important to sort of dig into the psychology of a martial character or your martial character, and then sort of craft the way that your character speaks from there.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. They aren't particularly sneaky, or their first choice isn't the sneaky choice. The first choice isn't particularly the magical choice either. Right? they typically would. That's why they're a martial character. Would think of the physical solutions first.
Oh yeah, totally. You don't have to necessarily be sneaky. Your guy could be an honorable street fighter, right? Yeah. So hey, you're on the wrong block, friend. Just wanted to let you know I'm here, and I noticed that you were here, and I know that you're not supposed to be here. I just wanted to let you know that we're probably gonna fight soon. I got nothing against you.
Yeah,
I got no problems with you, but you just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm so sorry. So sorry, my guy.
My guy.
But here comes the thunder and the lightning. Right?
Right. And I mean, you do have a point, though. If you are playing a non-traditionally martial class as a martial character, you might need to lean into certain tropes to differentiate them from other typical members of that class.
Yeah, to fully come out of the box.
Like your rogue, right? Make them speak like a fully martial character, right? And straightforward, as opposed to always sort of be thinking about the sneakiness parts of it, or being deft, right? You know what I mean? Because if you do lean into that, then you just feel like a rogue as opposed to a martial character.
Right. And
so it might be a useful tool to sort of embody.
And one of the things that maybe you can do beforehand, speaking of session 0 again, is talk to the group and the DM and say, hey guys, I want to play an intimidating character. Okay. Right? And while there's no writing on this, as far as I'm aware, like DM, can we create like a passive intimidation? Like we have passive perception, can we have a passive intimidation where my character is always just doing this? Right? It's just part of his persona that he's always a little bit growly. He's always a little bit this. Yes, I'm leaning back into the intimidation thing. We're talking about it here.
I was just thinking that.
But, okay, maybe he's got a passive physical persuasion about him, right? And when he talks, he's going to be like flexing his muscles a little bit. Like he's kind of stretching like a lion or a tiger getting ready for the kill.
Look over there, guys.
I wanted to just let you know that the beatdown is right. Like, I think you can do these things and get buy-in from the other players, right? When you talk about like, oh, we're going into this. Yeah, he's going to be mean mugging the entire time. So DM, I would like to use persuasion, intimidation, performance, whatever wheelhouse toolkit that you're using to amplify the face of the party when he's talking and he's doing the bartering. Right? I'm quiet, but I'm looking at you like if you don't accept the deal that we're bargaining right now, there's going to be consequences for you.
That's fun.
Right? And so just so you know, I'm always giving him the help action by doing this. Right? And so using that presence, using your physicality of a martial, whatever it is. Even if you're that swift kind of finesse fighter, you
flipping a dagger between your fingers in the background, and staring at the
staring at the guy while it does not even have to be a dagger, right? A coin or something, right? Yeah. But you're just doing something to show off your specific skills, so that you let them know that you will find them. You kill them. And so speaking kind of to that, let's go to your next mystery character. Next mystery character. All right.
I like this game.
I'm gonna let you know. I call this one The City Speaks If You Let It. I'm gonna give you a little preamble. A boy unfamiliar to the city wandered in looking for food as he found that the winter in the wilderness was too difficult to survive alone. The boy, much larger than the other people of the town, was eventually found that his heritage was of the Fey giant race, the Furbolgs. Divorced from his community, lost, he took a long time to adapt to the people of the city, but found a niche in the way that he prowled the back streets like a stalking tiger that he dealt with in the wilds, and made friends with the local animals. The birds, the rats, the dogs, the cats became his eyes and ears, and he gathered information all throughout the town. And as he learned, money was the true language of the city. And so no gold shipment from the merchants' guilds to the banks were ever truly safe. Their route's always changing, but he could always find them.
Done?
Done.
Artificer. No.
I didn't really give you enough, but
They're robot animals, right? In the forest?
not in the forest. But
no.
in this case, our Furbolg is a druid.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
Really, really, actually.
No, and so you
course.
can go.
Yeah.
In this case, I would choose something like Circle of Spores, where he doesn't need to wild shape. He doesn't need to become a beast.
But he's got that animal.
He can, but he's got that animal instinct. He's got that kind of stench cloud about him that nobody wants to talk to him. In this case, I call him Stray. Or he could be like the forest fox type thing, talking to the animals of the woods and doing like a Robin Hood style thing where nothing is safe moving through because the birds always know where the caravans are going. And so he can always get there. Beyond having his companion, which they can raise zombies and whatnot, fungal zombies. It speaks to the potentiality of just somebody who uses their wild nature, right, to then adopt into an unfamiliar territory, and then they can go after things with a physicality about them.
Right, that's the animal companion.
That's
exactly.
Well, the animal companion's with him, sure, right? Maybe he's got a little zombie dog that he likes and hangs out with, or not, whatever.
Right.
It could be another kid or whatever, another stinky kid that nobody plays with, but he only plays with that. You can go so far into this idea of just this wildling person that doesn't really blend into your society. Right. But you have to watch out because if you run into him in the back alleys, there's quite the possibility that he can beat the snot out of you. Right. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. And so once again, that's why I think he comes out of the box. Right? Druids, we generally think of druids as forest loving, as kind of, but in this case, he couldn't hack it. He was too young. He was a child, and he ended up bringing that kind of fey nature with him. You can call it like almost like a sorceress kind of origin-esque, if you wanted to put it into the backstory that way. But yeah, he comes in from an unfamiliar place through hardship, and he finds a role in the new urban jungle that he's adopted to, right? But he doesn't necessarily fully adapt. Yeah, you said he came into the city from the wilderness. I was like, how did he get in the wilderness in the first place? But I guess he kind of grew up there. Yeah. How did he get up? Get in the comments. How did he get there in the first place? Those wildernesses out there. How did he? Right. I was like, where did he come from then? Where's his? Anyways. I mean, we got to keep it somewhat short. I'm sure I could give Stray like a 10-page backstory pretty quick. Talk about being physical, though. Bear. A little later, because he's not a circle of the moon. Right. Right away. Yeah. Or maybe he was. Maybe he was. Maybe he turned into the animals of the city as well and just formed a pack of wild dogs that would go around. Right. And so you just know, don't stay out after dark, or don't be in this part of town, or don't be whatever. Right. And he or she, I guess, leans into that physicality and that direct physical sort of resolution of issues and problems. Yeah, absolutely. And all the spells can be like that as well. Yep. Right. Yep. If even you flavor it as spells. Well, because one of the things that you didn't talk about is Gish. Yes. Right? Yeah. And so, I mean, Gish is a way that you can definitely speak to the idea of how to make a character more martial than it is. No, absolutely. I didn't... Because... Oh, sorry. Gish, for those who aren't familiar with the term, Gish is the combination of a character who is proficient at physically fighting as well as casting magic. So that would be... Arguably. Do you have another definition? They're okay at fighting and they're okay at casting magic. Proficient. Yeah. Okay. Okay, good. Yeah. So like, but not great at either. Things that come to mind are like your Eldritch Knight fighter subclass, your Blade Singer wizard subclass, right? Those are, or the Hexblade, like we talked about. Hexblade's another one. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a Gish. Yeah. No, I specifically kind of didn't, because for sure it's easy to become martial just by adding that martial class, multi-classing. But I specifically wanted to talk about how to sort of build a martial character without having to rely on class.
right? So much. But for sure, Gish is a thing if you want to mix those two, right?
Right.
But if you want to lean into the martial, like a pure martial character,
Right.
and Gish maybe not so much because they're kind of best of both or a little bit of both worlds.
Right. Their tool set's a little wider. Yeah.
Yeah. And the focus is in two camps as opposed to sort of one.
Interesting. Okay.
That's how I sort of see it.
I like that. Kind of putting Gish then in that kind of Venn diagram between our casters and our marshals, as opposed to being like a true marshal.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. Yeah. No. It's better for clarification. But I thought, maybe we should touch on it just because.
Because someone's going to be like, actually.
Actually, all you're talking about is Gish.
But speaking of sort of class mechanics.
Yeah.
I mean, not class mechanics, but mechanics. You can use mechanics to sort of inform that martial focus for your character.
Okay.
Like outside of class. Because say like, yes, I'm going to choose my bard. But there's base mechanics that are sort of independent from class that you can use to add that martially aspect to your character. For one thing, it's obvious is skill proficiencies, right? Like the obvious ones are athletics, intimidation, like you talked about. We love intimidation here. Insight, survival.
I think intimidation. I just want to say, I don't see intimidation used enough.
Right.
I think. This is my opinion. I don't see intimidation used enough where players are willing to create friction and tension in a scene as opposed to diffusing it. Most of the time, parties are trying to, no, guards. No, don't worry about it. We're just walking through. We're not here stealing the crown jewels. We're not here murdering. They're always trying to like diffuse and make everything smooth and like easy and just like, don't worry about it. It's chill. It's cool. As opposed to, what are you going to do about it, guard? It's 300 feet to the next outpost. You think you can make it?
Right.
Really? Or are you just going to walk away? And we're just going to walk away and we're both going to have a good night. No, I find that there's not a lot of people who kind of lean into the uncomfortable side. So maybe, yes.
It's uncomfortable for people, us to do that.
That's why. Yeah, absolutely.
That's why.
To be confrontational. But we're okay just like murdering and cutting and killing
it's
and
weird.
Fireballing.
As opposed to be like, hey, guard, how's your son? Yeah, I saw him last night at the bar.
Yeah.
He's healthy?
He's looking real healthy. Yeah, he wants to join the guard, doesn't he?
Yeah,
you need two working legs to do that, right?
Right. So I mean, I hope nothing. I mean, I'm sure nothing's gonna happen to him.
No, he's perfectly safe.
But I'm just having a nice walk here tonight. Hoping just to get home on time to see my friends. Anything I can help you with?
Yeah. So anyway. Please let me know if your games are different. If your players are ready to throw down, just because it's slightly cloudy outside.
Right.
But there's a difference between them using the intimidation skill, right, to do that, and how many interrogations do we really have in games, right, compared to the rest of the playtime, right, where you're actually trying to do it because you do have that moment of force, not when you're talking to the town guard or talking to. So anyway, I don't see enough intimidation. And I think there's reasons for that. But please continue because intimidation's awesome.
All right, let's go back. What was I talking about? I was talking about mechanics. Mechanics that can inform the martial focus of a character.
Yes.
I was talking about proficiencies, athletics, intimidation, right? Insight, survival. Are we going anywhere? No.
Red.
We can talk about feats.
Yes.
Again, we don't have to go with the combat optimization all the time, right? You can use a feat to add weapon proficiencies, armor proficiencies, right? Just because I want that for my character. All of a sudden, your wizard can wear medium armor. All of a sudden, right? Or add a fighting style, right? To someone who just doesn't. Usually, it's the purvey of fighter types.
Yep.
Right? But you can just add a feat.
Yep.
Right? As a human, or variant human, you can, or these days anyone, I guess, with Tasha's, with that free feat at level 1, anyone can have a fighting style, right? And
that's the variant you're talking about, or custom lineage. Sorry.
Yeah. Right, and that's super martial,
Yes.
But I fight so much with weapons that I have an actual style.
I have a
Right.
trained style
Yeah.
about me. Yes.
Right? You can use your stats.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Am I going to be in the face of danger? Let's add some points into con.
Right. So we're going to look at the physical stats,
Yeah.
right? Strength, dex, con.
Con. Anyone can add con.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe you're not strong. That's okay.
Mhm.
But, right? Like if you're scared that you're just going to die because you're a wizard, just add some con.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then, like I usually don't like going into mechanics in our talks. Yeah, into the mechanics. But I think by doing this, you can use the mechanics to inform sort of the type of physical actions that your martial character would take.
Okay.
Right? Like now that my bard has, say, like a 16 con even,
Mm-hmm.
right? They've got that extra bit of
You can really hold that note.
HP, yeah, for like 5 minutes.
It's amazing. I've never
Like,
seen anything like it.
Con saves for days. Is he still going? Yeah. Right. So then they can be in the thick of battle for a little bit longer and be sort of confident that they're not going to get sort of smoked by just some
Right.
random
Right.
goblin. Right.
Yeah.
So then that informs.
Or when
what
they
you-
are, they can stay in the fight a little longer.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
that's a typical martial thing to be able to do.
Yep.
So it informs sort of what you can do as a martial character,
Mm-hmm.
right? Despite not having a martial class. Does
Yes.
that make sense?
Absolutely. To me, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just a quick list that I put down. I'm sure there's lots of other ways.
Well, I mean, that's even
To-
like when you
to
said
use the
feat,
mechanics.
like one of the feats that adds hit points, like we're talking about, is tough.
Tough.
It's called tough.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
what else do you want from it when we're talking about,
Mhm.
being more martial
Yeah.
is taking and trading those blows? You are a tough character.
Yeah.
Right? Straight up.
Or even lucky,
Oh.
right? Like they're not very. He's not very tough, but he is lucky,
Yeah.
and that's why he can be in the thick of it.
Right.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And that's just another way of mitigating damage.
Yeah?
You hit me? Nope.
Nope.
Right.
Not this time, Kappa.
Right? Or he's a, what is that? That wizard, divination wizard.
Yes.
You just missed. You just
Yeah.
missed. He's just lucky.
Yeah.
Right? Always at the right place at the right time. Right? Type.
Types. Yeah.
And that can inform sort of, again, what you can do. Well, sort of what kind of martial actions you can do.
Yes.
You can get away with
Yeah.
using those mechanics.
Mm.
So I just wanted to sort of bring that to light, that there are ways of making your character mechanically more martial
Mm-hmm.
outside of your class,
Mm-hmm.
right? So to free you again from that box of
Yeah.
what class and what class can and cannot be a martial.
Right, and you're right when you said the divination wizard using your portent dice, I think they're called. He's got a trick with his spear that always hits.
Right?
Always hits.
Yeah.
Right, and so you can play on a trope like that. No, I'm gonna use my finishing move on him. It's always hits. How
Yeah.
can you know it's always gonna? He's impossible to damage. It always hits, right? And then whoop, sub in the dice, even if you roll
Yeah.
low, so you always hit with it, right? And you can play into those kinds of things where your role play then meets the
Right. Or like,
mechanics.
I see through your moves.
Yeah.
Dodge.
Yes. Yeah. Crit, not this time.
Yeah.
3. Still hits, huh? It's gonna happen. But yeah, no, I like that. I like that kind of an idea. And so they say, those that live by the sword, right, are gonna probably die by it. And so this is one of the things that I think
Or
another
die by
thing.
magic, really. What
Magic sword. It's just all at once. It's
sneaky. So, anyways, sorry.
No. It's I think when we're doing this, the characters are expecting and should expect, right, that level of physical trauma in their life as well.
Yeah.
Right. If they're choosing to do these things, you've made these mechanical decisions, you made them tough and whatnot. Well, you're taking those extra hit points because you're going to be taking more hits.
Yeah.
As a player that you're choosing that this character is going to be in danger.
Yeah.
Like we talked about. And they're going to be trading blows. Their hit points are a pool of resources
Yes.
for the team, right? and this is just like key points, just like bardic inspiration dice, just like wild shapes, rages. There is a certain amount of them that you have, and you can run out of them.
Yep.
Right.
Well, and you can spend them strategically and wisely.
Absolutely. Right. And so this is something that when we talk about off tanks and like skirmishers and whatnot, they're able to trade a little bit, but they're not necessarily designed mechanically to do that forever. Right. So when we're, I think that when we're doing this, we've made also unique choices about our backstory, why we've unboxed this wizard, this bard, this druid, and we don't want them to be an on-type version of that. Don't stop being creative there. Like that's not the end of the character's development cycle. Right. Don't just be, I'm different, but that's why I'm different. Not, I'm going to continue being different. That's why I'm different. Continue that role. Like you've created a unique character. You've made sure that you've spent the energy to conceive of something that's more difficult because it's outside the easy area of creation. Well, then keep choosing things to make unique stories going forward.
Well, if you're off type, typically there's a good reason to be off type.
Yes.
Right? And then that's a great sort of vehicle for character arcs as well, like you're talking about, right? Like where does it go from now?
Yeah, and it's going to drive your goals. It's going to drive your motivations. One thing that you said earlier, though, that I kind of want to retouch on really quickly is a lot of times when we have...
retouch.
You said that, they're very direct in what they do. And a lot of times when we've seen martial characters without realizing it sometimes. So like, for instance, martial character, Ash Ketchum.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
His tool are the Pokemon. They do all the fighting. Ash is not a fighter.
Yeah.
He's got a fighting spirit, though.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And what does he do? I want to be the very best.
Yep.
Period.
Yeah.
That's it. His entire philosophy is, I want to be the best.
Also, congratulations, Ash Ketchum. You are now the very best.
You are now the very best. And it's been a long time coming. But
so long.
He's still 12, though. He's still 12. It's been a wonderful year for him.
He's an elf.
Yeah. But I think that that's somebody that you wouldn't necessarily consider a martial character.
Right. Yep.
But I absolutely think he is. Right. And there's probably a lot of examples of characters that are martial that are easier to talk about. Right. Superman's a martial character.
Right.
Right. Okay, that's easy. What
Despite the fact that he flies around and
he punches, he shoots lasers. Yeah, he's got abilities, but they're all
blows really hard.
Yes, that's one of his superpowers. Not that he sucks. Yes, blows.
Wind.
Yeah. So I think it's really, really interesting what we could look at that are martial characters as opposed to the other ones that we're not talking about right now, and how it can kind of sneak in a way where essentially Ash is a summoner.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But he's or a bard even, right? Like he's constantly juicing up his team. He's constantly on their side, pushing them to greater heights. But he himself has I never saw him get in the ring and throw a punch on Charizard. Right.
Yeah. No, he should have. I would.
Oh, that's a different kind of Pokemon. But yeah, no, I think that these kinds of things are important to realize that it can sneak in when you're not expecting it.
Yep.
Right. And so you can have a character that, like kings, can be interestingly martial, where they imply force.
Right.
That is my army. Is my arm, right? Yeah. And so if you want to disagree with me, you're not disagreeing with me, you're disagreeing with my nation.
Right.
Care to, right?
Right.
And so I'm not the king that's going to be throwing the blows on the battlefield, but I'm definitely going to use my physical tools.
That's interesting, because then the country can be also a martial character, or it could be a magical country, or like an expertise. Or it's interesting that countries can be characters too.
I think they can.
Yeah.
I think they can.
I think
if you play them that way.
Yeah.
Right?
That's cool.
Organizations then can be martial.
Yeah.
In the way that they do things. And, easily to describe, thief skills are kind of martial. Sure. So are city guard. So are
thieves,
knights barracks.
One thief guild can be martial and thuggish.
Yes.
Another one can be very quiet and sneaky. And,
Yes.
right?
Not all. I'm not going to say all, but yes, as a trope, these are very easy to say that they are, or some of them can be martial.
Yep.
Right? And so don't necessarily just think that we're talking about one individual person, because the idea of using physical things is a martial mindset.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about here today. But I think one more secret character for you.
Okay.
I'll do a better job describing this one because I missed some key information last time and I feel bad about that. All right. So I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to do better. Just
give it to me.
Better description this time. Found by a wealthy but generous merchant. A strange female from an unknown land, seemed to be made from the earth itself, was taken in by this aforementioned merchant. Somewhat intellectual at their outset. The merchant found that she took to the readings of his library, his extensive library, very quickly and assumed the knowledge. The merchant himself dealt in tinker toys, small mechanics, clockwork machinations, and she adopted that knowledge quickly. So quickly that she surpassed the merchant in his own ability to create these things. In time, she returned the favor to him by becoming a stalwart protector, having developed her own armor and her own protective swords. Also, this is a multi-class, so
okay.
I think you know one. You're nodding already. Going through her career in protecting her adopted father, one day, upon delivering to the castle some trinkets of curios to the crown, the queen noticed this rather special individual. And from her inspection, found that she absolutely wanted her, our child, to become the queen's bodyguard. In time, the child learned how to manipulate the world around her as she saw that the world itself and its creative clockwork could be adjusted. And so she became a protectorate, a bodyguard for the queen, named Slab for her ability to absorb damage and yet deal thundering punches. She protected the queen for the rest of the queen's life when she died of natural causes.
Gosh, Artificer?
That's the easy one. And I did give you a big hint.
Let me know in the comments. Too late, guys. Jeez.
What do you think is the multi-class with? Also, shout out to Colby at D4 Deep Dive. This is one of his builds and one that I absolutely love and want to try.
This one's hard.
I'll say Earth Genasi.
Putting the... No, never mind.
Yeah, any guess?
I'm trying to...
Whale noises.
It's not wizard. It's Artificer, of course. It's the armor one with the punching.
Yes.
There's something about the shields. Is it?
Little, maybe. I did actually say exactly what it is. For those of you paying attention.
I wasn't paying attention.
I do like to hide my hints in plain sight.
Your players never get your hints. Just saying.
No, they get in the comments.
Tell me, guys.
Defend me.
Tell me, guys. You know who you are. Do you ever get his hints? Let's say.
I promise they get them all the time.
Well, they
just
never
don't know
get
their
them.
hints.
Gosh. I don't know. It's wizard.
Sorcerer in this case. Clockwork soul sorcerer. Yeah, and when we're talking about marrying the ideas of mechanics,
Right.
in this case, the mechanics of the artificer being able to imply disadvantage for the person who's struck by the Thundering Gauntlets to target anybody else but them, right? That implying that disadvantage. That's that debuff that we were talking about before. Simultaneously, the Clockwork Soul, you can expend a number of dice to reduce damage on targets that you see within 30 feet, including yourself.
Yes.
So when you get hit, you can assume some of that damage. Your protection target takes some damage. You can reduce that damage without them taking any, right? Without having to be right next to them and like impose with your reaction, you know, that defensive style and whatnot. Yes, so this is our Clockwork Soul.
Oh, interesting.
Armorer.
Yeah, armor.
Armor AA club. And so taking two non-martial classes.
I like it.
It's a super cool build. I would love to play it.
And putting it together, become a very martial character.
To become a character that's designed to be a defensive specialist. You have a full toolkit of everything that the sorcerer can do, everything that the artificer can do, and I'm not going to talk levels or whatnot or optimization of it, but with all the spells that you can cast, and all, you have a full range in your toolkit, along with an intimidating physical presence. Great saves, like marrying two things together to make something that's greater than its parts. That's what we're going to look for when we really want to get out of the box and create those martial things.
I love it.
Does the subclass focus on doing extra damage?
Right.
Yes, great. I'm going to marry that to my martial idea so that I can use the mechanics to apply more damage. Does it help me defend more? Does it increase my AC? Does it whatever? Yes. Okay, great. Now I'm more of a defensive one. I'm going to build my mechanics to support my RP, to support where I'm at with this thing. So
I love it.
I think that one's cool.
It's really cool.
And I mean, beyond that, you know, what could they be? When we're talking about this one's a mad character, so multi-attribute dependent. If you're not familiar with mad versus sad, right? So now in this case, when we're talking about
I was
single.
going to say sad is good.
Sad is good. Capital S.
Mad can be fun.
Mad can be fun. Harder to get, right? A lot of times. In this case, when we were talking about strength, dex, and con, this character is built charisma, intelligence, and con.
Right.
Right? You're going to be a smart character because of your artificer ability. Now you can wear the heaviest armor without needing the requirements of strength, right? You can dump the strength. So now your character isn't intimidating outside of their armor. So off duty, they can maybe be that meek little bookworm. But when they don the armor of protection of the queen, protection of the crown, whatever, they are a force to be reckoned with. Right? And they fight smart. They don't fight strong. Right? And I think that's a great way of maybe, once again, playing with the tropes of what they are. Right? You see the stalwart protector of the queen standing there with a shield, but no weapon. Just a heavy looking gauntlet, right? And you're like, well, why don't they have a sword? Or why don't they
It's like Iron Man and Captain America.
Mixed together. But together.
Two become one.
Yeah. So no, I like the idea that we can have an intelligence-based, a charisma-based tank, protector, spellcaster, right? That's job is there. And so I could see them as being, interestingly, like a chapter historian for like a group of knights. Right. They know the lore. They understand it. They are they go into the negotiations because they understand the history of the chapter. A great example of this is the Black Company. Yes.
Okay.
It's awesome. Series of books.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
Amazing series. But one of the main characters carries the tomes of knowledge of everything past in the chapter. And so they have to know, have we fought these things before? What do they do? Right? Every time he's going into his book. Right. Warlock-esque, maybe. You could get another blend in there if you really wanted to. But I think that this character could fit well amongst a fighting squad. They themselves are a fighter. They're just a different type of fighter. They're the smart fighter. Right? Same kind of thing, a cult protector. Right? Like you get in there, what are all the rituals that we need to know? Oh, okay, you need this. Oh no, that's Moonstone. You need Soapstone for this, guys. Guys, we're summoning demons here. We don't want them getting out and killing
my guy.
Right? My dark worshipping friend. Right? You could play into that. So now they're a protector of it, but they're also learned in what they're doing. Right? So yes, the cult safety is my top priority. I don't want the things that we're summoning getting out until we have like bound them to our service and whatnot. So this is my job. Simultaneously, this character will make a great BBEG, right? Where I want the universe, I want the world to be in balance. And I know what balance is because I'm got the soul of the clockwork. Yeah. I come from the place where things are controlled. There is no chaos.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we need to make this place like that place.
Yeah.
I've seen the beauty of it. And so what a great character that you could put against the players who is also a defensive specialist. Yep. So every time that they come in and they're like, oh, my paladin's coming in attacking with advantage and I got smite on the first round and doing 600 damage. No, I'm going to use my reaction to remove your advantage. Yeah. You do not crit me. Right. And using those kinds of things against it, and they can't do anything about it. They can't silvery barbs it. They can't mess with it that way. Mechanically, it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I think, I think that there's a lot there that you can do.
Well, and that's only one example, right?
Oh,
there's so many things you can do because that's the beauty of D&D, I think, is that you are free to do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. And I hope, I guess this chat has sort of opened your minds, dear viewers, as to sort of
dearest viewers.
Dear you. So sort of the possibilities that are there, like, if you want to make a martial character, you don't have to be stuck with the martial classes.
No. Right? No, absolutely. You shouldn't be. And in your selection of trying to figure out what you want to play, don't just limit it to any one thing. Mm-hmm. See the creative way that you can get to the destination.
Yep.
As well as the straightest path.
Yeah.
Right? And I think you'll have fun playing both. Mm-hmm. But the one that you put more into, as we always say,
you get more out of.
Probably get more out of. Yeah. Right. So I encourage you to please let us know what maybe what you have reflavored or changed to make a martial character. Out of kind of a non-martial class. To see what creative things you guys have made out there.
I would like to see that. Actually.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah. And beyond like reflavoring, instead of firebolt, he throws a flaming sword, right? Or whatever, right? Like those kinds of things are applicable as well, right? Tasha's definitely reinforces this. Mm-hmm. As a DM, I'm constantly asking my players when they cast spells for the first time,
what does it look like?
What does it look like? Right? What is everybody else supposed to see? Because whether we like it or not, we're always playing a portion of this game as theater of the mind.
Yep.
So even if your miniature's on the battle mat and it's animated, it's on a TV and it's a projector and it's all that kind of stuff, you still want to see it in your mind. It's way cooler up here. Way cooler up here, even though it's pretty cool down there too.
Yeah. And I want to see sort of your comments about what we talked about. Like, do you agree? Do you disagree? Mm-hmm. If you think we're sort of off base, let us know and tell me why. Yeah. I'm interested in seeing sort of your opinions on maybe what makes a martial character martial, as opposed to some other kind of character. Mm-hmm. Right? It'd be interesting to see sort of what other opinions are out there.
Yeah, your rogue class that's a world class sprinter because he took expertise in athletics, right?
Yeah.
What's he do? He runs real fast. That's his job.
That's his job.
That's his job is running real fast.
Yeah.
Play with it.
Yep.
That's what I think it is. Play with it. Get those preconceptions out of here, and have fun. And find the thing that's going to be the most fun for you to play in the moment right now, and get after it.
Yeah. Well, here's to more fun in D&D.
Here's to more fun in D&D.
Thanks for joining us. Yep, there it is. Yep. Once again, thanks for joining us at Caffeine and Cantrips. This has been Byron.
This has been Sean.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Or else. Testing 1, 2, 3. My Sean impression.